seen little bits and pieces of the schedule, and it's real small bits.
Yes.
We do know, for instance, that the Clash at the Coliseum will be back and accompanied by a NASCAR Mexico race.
I know.
So that's an extra show.
Very, very cool. I thought, the last 2 years, the Clash has really opened other people's eyes that maybe not a core fan to the sport of NASCAR. And so I embrace it. Now, I do think after the third year of it, maybe we rethink, still having the Clash, but moving it around and doing something different.
Pete, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think 3-year increments are kind of really good to look at here with NASCAR. And again, I will applaud them for all the things that we've done differently over the last few years. And I'm glad the Clash is coming back. We'll see what happens next year. The street race here in my backyard in Chicago. Hopefully, we're going to do that again this coming year. We won't have the Noah's Ark 400 because that was just unbelievable. I think we'll do that again. I thought it was great. To your point, what's compounding this is that, our friends at NBC, it's an Olympic year, and we're going to get probably a 2-week break on the NASCAR side. So all those resources from NBC can bring us the Olympics. And I think that's why we're getting a little bit of a slower return on when the whole schedule is going to be dropped. You guys are hearing, like I'm hearing, maybe some shifting of dates, some moving around to places, maybe some new races inside the playoffs, which I think is also a good thing. But again, I love the fact that we don't have the whole cut and paste that we used to have not that long ago, where you basically took last year's schedule, scratched out the dates, you knew where you were going, when you were going to be there, and it was the same racetracks. We don't have that now in NASCAR. So I'm sure they're going to get it down to maybe the next week or so we'll get it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think there's going to be some new changes to it, and I look forward to that year in and year out for what Ben Kennedy and company have done here with NASCAR on the scheduling side of things.
Pete talked about the Olympic break on NBC, which because you work for NBC, but that is one of the reasons that's being one of the things cited as in a report out of Milwaukee this past weekend that Road America will not be on any NASCAR schedule this coming season.
Yeah, a little disappointing because I do love that racetrack. I didn't get to go this year because I was in Richmond? Was it Richmond in Road America? But I always have a good time out there. Hopefully that doesn't mean that the following year they won't be there and, maybe even the Cup Series back bigger and better. But I do think we're probably going to see some things to make up for the 2 weeks that we're off. Maybe that means a doubleheader somewhere. And if you have to put, 2 races one place, you got to take it away from somebody. And so I know the fans up in Wisconsin will be disappointed, but we also don't know what the rest of the schedule looks like. To Pete's point, maybe some of those fans could come to Chicago. It's not too far to take all that in because, man, that was an incredible race weekend despite the rain. In spite of the rain, all of it, I think, came out net positive. So I can't wait for the schedule to go out. I'm just like the fans. I've heard rumors, but I haven't seen a sheet of paper that has them all listed. So there's going to probably be surprises for all of us on there.
I know, Pete, you try to avoid the cheeseheads as much as possible, but I know you like a trip up into the woods up there in Wisconsin every once in a while.
There's no doubt. I love going over the cheddar curtain. It's okay. I'm like him. This will be the first time, guys, since 2009 that NASCAR has not been there with either the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. And, those are some great race fans up there. I had a blast a few weeks ago. I was up there at the Milwaukee Mile. It was great to see the Truck Series back there. We'll see if that continues. But, to Kim's point, I think this is just a year where you got to kind of look at some things. Some dates are, Road America, from my understanding, literally has something on their schedule every weekend, whether it's a spectator event or a track rental. So trying to find a kind of that sweet spot to put a date is a little difficult when you have 2 less weeks to work with here because of what you're dealing with on an Olympic year. But if we don't go this year, I'm pretty sure we'd go back in 2025, and I would very much look forward to it.
Well, and finally, we all suspected and believed that this year's dirt race at Bristol was going to be the last one, and it is now official. There will not be a dirt race at Bristol. There will be 2 races on the concrete at Bristol, and I think many of the drivers were pretty happy about that, though I did hear Joey Logano say the way he ran this past weekend at Bristol that maybe he would like the dirt back better because he did win on that. But, they're going to have no more dirt at Bristol this year, and maybe we can assume, can we assume there won't be any dirt races?
I don't know. You can't not assume anything. You have to keep your options open because I think again there could be some surprises on the schedule. I did think it was funny that a lot of drivers were happy that it was going back to Bristol concrete for 2 races. I do applaud SMI for trying something. I was entertained by it. I know maybe the drivers didn't love it, but it was entertaining to just have that in the mix. It was something different. Now, do we need to do it every year for the rest of eternity? No. So maybe we'll do a dirt race somewhere else at an actual dirt track instead of, bringing in the dirt. Because I know that was a massive undertaking financially, time-wise, just the blood, sweat, and tears that everybody put into getting dirt onto Bristol. But the one thing I will say, if we're going back to the concrete for both races, the fans better show up for that spring concrete race. I know everybody loves the Bristol night race and, it stayed on the concrete, but, a lot of fans were vocal about wanting the concrete back for 2 races and they have it back. So in my book, that means they better buy those tickets and show up for that race.
Well, and I think that's the bottom line, Pete. That's why they tried the dirt race to begin with, because they weren't getting much attendance as far as the spring race goes.
Absolutely. And then I totally understood it. I wasn't a fan not because I didn't want a dirt race. I think that's kind of cool. I just hated to give up a date at Bristol because I think Bristol is not just one of the best short tracks we have. I think it's one of the best tracks we have. So I was kind of hesitant to do that. But Brett, you're exactly right. It comes down to the fans. Here's the thing, back to the schedule. I really hope that NASCAR can maybe try to slide that date back in the spring, not put it in March and April, so you have a better chance of some better weather there in the mountains of Tennessee. Maybe that would help attendance, but you're right. I mean, I'm happy we have 2 concrete races there. I love that racetrack. It's one of my favorites, but the fans have to support it. And if they don't, then NASCAR and SMI is going to have to think about something else.